Hey there everybody, this is Ed and welcome back to another edition of Bagel and Booze. No, it's been a while. Maybe you're thinking we were celebrating dry January. Nah, it's been just a little bit crazy here between weddings and some other things going on. We don't do dry January here on Bagel and Booze, but what we are going to do is we are going to do a review of a dry cider. What better way to celebrate than to dry January than with a review of dry cider? I don't know. Made sense to me. My show, my rules. Whatever. But with this one, we'll also kind of toss it up as a crap I found in the back of my fridge, because this one does come to us from summertime. It's something that's been sitting around in there. So what better way to celebrate the middle of winter than with a summertime inspired cider? So we'll give it the old sniff test, taste test, give it a rating, and most importantly, we will find out if it will chug. But before we get into that, make sure you're clicking on that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with the latest beer reviews and whatnot. So let's go ahead and get started with crap I found in the back of my fridge. For this week's review, we're heading up to the state of New York, specifically the Hudson Valley area, and we're going to be trying something out from Hudson North Cider Company. And what we are going to be trying from them, it is their Rocket Pop, and this is a dry, hazy cider, clocks in at 5%. This is flavored with raspberry, cherry, and lime. This comes out of their Venture series of ciders. They have a couple different. They have their regular staple, they have seasonals, and then they have these Adventure series, which are monthly flavors that they put out. Looks like from March to December. This one is out of summertime. This specifically is their June flavor. Fits right in, red, white, and blue. Although I would think that would be more for July, but in any event, Rocket Pop, I guess, with the iconic ice cream treat, matches right up with that. But there are some other ones in there that are kind of cool. They have May, which is orange dreamsicle, August is cider donut, and October, which is caramel, or caramel, however you want to call it, apple. So this one tastes pretty good. Maybe we'll have to track down some of those other ones and try some of those out. It's not Bagel and Booze without the more you know. We'll do a little one, whatever. So let's do it. For this the more you know moment, I was kind of interested in what makes a dry cider a dry cider. I know there's sweet ciders and there's dry ciders, and there's even medium dry and medium sweet and tart and run the gamut, but specifically the big guys are probably dry ciders and sweet ciders. What makes a sweet cider is the fact that it's a type of cider made from, surprise, surprise, sweet apples. And these you kind of know as Fuji, Gal, and Honeycrisp. Granted, ciders can be made from anything, but traditionally, sweet ciders are going to be made from the sweet apples. And they're going to have a higher, and the beverages themselves are going to have a higher sugar content than dry cider. Again, to add to the sweetness with that. And to get that, they usually end up doing it through using typically not fully ripe apples, or or sugar or other sweeteners are going to be applied before fermentation. Sweet ciders will go well with a variety of dishes, from grilled meats to spicy food and even desserts. On the flip side, with the dry ciders, you could probably figure out it is going to be a lower sugar. They're going to have a much more crisp and complex flavor than the sweets, and they are going to use fully ripe apples. Couldn't find anything that said that there's a specific type of apple that's used. Granted, again, as I said, with sweet ciders, you could use any apple, but you're going to probably stick with the sweeter ones to get you that sweet characteristics of it. But for the dry ones, what gets it in there is usually, as I said, they're going to use fully ripe apples, and they're going to ferment longer to allow all these sugars to go ahead and fully convert off to alcohol. And then this obviously gives it the more dry, complex flavor profile that comes in with these ciders. These also pair well with spicy dishes, but they're also better suited for cheese and charcuteries. There you go. I guess a quick little the more you know moment. We'll ease back into them, try to get some a little more interesting, but there you go. There's your quick and dirty on what makes a dry cider, and a sweet cider, So let's go ahead and get this cracked open.
I drink and I know things.
So we got everything all poured out, and it's a little hard to see here on camera, but It actually came out in a rosé kind of pinkish color. I was expecting more traditional kind of amber pour on it, but this is a pinkish hue. I don't know. I don't know colors, but it definitely was not what I was expecting when it poured out. Let's go ahead and give it the old sniff test, see if we get any of that raspberry, cherry, or lime flavor that comes through. So I'm getting definitely a good whiff, obviously, of apples because it is a cider. Getting a little bit of hint of, I guess, the cherry that's in there, the sweetness of the raspberry. Not really getting any lime smell. You know, lime, it does have a slight smell, but it's not something that's really kind of overt that's coming through. So with this one, definitely the apple flavor is coming through, and the cherry and the raspberry. It'll be interesting to see what flavor profile comes through in the taste test. It is a quite interesting blend of flavors, raspberry, cherry, and limes. I guess screams summertime, at least the raspberry and cherries. Even the limes, I'll throw it out there. So I guess there's only one way to find out. So let's take a sip or two. So definitely on the, it's got, there is, wow. It is a burst of flavor that comes through. The initial kind of hit, obviously, was a little delayed. It got the apple initially, but quickly the raspberry, cherry, and lime all showed up. Got more, again, from the smell, got more of the taste of the cherry and raspberry than I did of the lime. Definitely there's a lingering that I can feel of the cherry. I was trying to figure out if it's the raspberry or the cherry, but definitely the cherry. I can kind of feel that. We'll give another sip. And it's got a little sweetness to it, partially because of the flavors that are in there. It's not as dry as some of the other dry ciders that I have had. Like I said, you know, I'm going to attribute, you know, if this was just obviously apple cider, you know, apple cider, not the right term, but if this was just apples in there, definitely would get more of that dryness that would get from a dry cider. But for this one, there definitely is a bit of a sweet profile that comes into it. There is, when you look at it, they are using concentrate for raspberry, and I do believe there was also concentrate of cherry that's in there. So you're going to get some sugar that comes out from those, as opposed to, I guess, just kind of using the regular fruit sugars that are going to be there. So inherently, you're going to get some of that that comes through. I was expecting something a lot worse. You know, the whole raspberry, cherry, lime, just, I don't know. It was intriguing. It was a little interesting. So I was a little worried about it. You know, it does halfway decent in connection with that. You know, I guess I would like to see a little more flavor of the lime in the beverage. You know, definitely overshadowed by the raspberry and cherry more so, and obviously with the apple as well. But all in all, you know, for a rating with this one, you know, we'll split it right down the middle of the road. I'm not hating it. It's definitely not. It's not wowing me. It's good. Don't get me wrong, but it's just not. You know, I don't know. It's just not over the top. It's not something that I would actively seek out. You know, again, if it's there to drink, I'm not going to pass it up. You know, but it's not going to be a flavor combination that's saying I got to have that. Yeah, we'll stick with it at a 3, and it definitely is something that surprised me. You know, I expected this to rate much worse. I thought we were going to get some gross combination of the lime prevailing through and just kind of messing up all the flavors, but the lime is definitely muted, you know, dominated out by the cherry and the raspberry. There's definitely, you know, in the first couple sips of this cider, those raspberry and cherry flavors definitely come out, but after the next couple sips, drinks, what have you, they become a little bit muted, you know, and it just kind of blends together, for lack of a better term. Don't know how else to express it. So, you know, I guess maybe if those flavors just stayed prominent, throughout the whole of the drink. I guess it's just, it is what it is, at least for me. I'm not getting as much of that cherry and raspberry flavor that I got from the initial few drinks that we had. It'll be interesting to see if it changes during the chug test, and there's only one way to find out, so let's get to it. Okay, so we got everything all poured and refilled to do our chug test, and I wish I had it being recorded, and it's real tough to see because everything's now settled into the bottom. But when I poured out the end of this can, there was a whole bunch of sediment that came out, and we definitely now have a nice hazy characteristic to cider. It was a little bit hazy before, but now it definitely is, and there was a whole bunch of, looked like cherry and raspberry particles that came out, good sizable pieces that you kind of see. So it definitely will be interesting. Maybe I need to throw that in for my initial pour, shake it up. It didn't really say anything on there. Maybe it did. Maybe I should have read the can. No, nothing on the can that says about shaking it up. We'll find out. So it definitely is now going to be interesting when the chug test to see if anything real changes. So maybe I'll just give it a quick little sip. We'll see if maybe I'm going to change my beer rating off from the 3, make it higher, make it worse. Just one way to find out, and then we'll give it the old chug test. So we'll give it a quick little sip. No, still kind of stays the same. Get a little bit of that, of what I had in there before. So nothing really changes with the extra contents that came into the bottom of my glass. So let's go ahead and find out if it changes when we chug it. So with that, 1, 2, 3, bottoms up. It's chuggable. And I didn't chug the last little bit because there is the all that sediment that's down there. Call it what it is. There definitely, it was a little tough at the end. I find chugging cider is a little tougher than beer. I don't know why. It just is. But there's definitely an intenseness that has come through of for me, this time it is the cherry. The raspberry was a little bit more there in the sips with the chug. Definitely the cherry is coming forward. Not to say raspberry because just talked about raspberry, but the cherry is the more dominant of the flavors that are in there. Lime is still MIA. No clue. I guess it's there. It lends to some tartness to this, but all in all, it definitely is dominated out by the raspberry and the cherry flavors. Again, I was not having the highest of expectations for this one with the flavor profile. It turned out to be halfway decent. It's not something that I'm over the top with. It'll be interesting. Like I said, they've got some other cool sounding flavors in their Adventure series. So it'll be interesting to see if any of those are better flavor profiles. I kind of like it to the Dewey Brewing, where we get the secret machines from them, and there's some flavor profiles with them that just are misses, and then there's others that are out of this world combination. So, maybe if you like raspberry and cherry, you'll like this one a lot better than I did. So I guess with that, I'm done. This is done. We're done. And I thank you again for tuning in to another edition of Bagel and Booze. Thanks all.